Major funding for Frontline is provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Additional funding is provided by this station and other public television stations nationwide.
My name is Wayne.
Tonight on Frontline, child molesters.
Dawn was approximately 11 and a half years old the first time I offended her.
Can we treat them?
Do you have any unreported contact with children since starting treatment?
No.
Can we control them?
When I'm aroused by kids, I wear a rubber band and I snap it. Sure, yeah, I'm a threat to the community.
Tonight on Frontline, men who molest.
From the network of public television stations, a presentation of KCTS Seattle, WNET New York, WPBT Miami, WTVS Detroit, and WGBH Boston. This is Frontline with Judy Woodruff.
Good evening. The victims suffer in silence, alone, afraid, often preyed upon by those nearest to them, a father, a brother, a close neighbor. Finally, we have begun to hear from them. They have begun to talk. And we are beginning to grasp the scale of this crime. We are beginning to talk openly about what can be done. As a result, over the past year, there's been a 35% increase in reports of child sexual abuse. 40 new laws have been enacted by state and local authorities to protect children. Tonight on Frontline, the other half of the story, the child molesters. Who are they? And what can we do about them? Astonishingly, experts estimate there are at least 4 million of them, and they do not fit our stereotypes. Almost half of those guilty of incest also molest children outside the family. Many also commit adult rape, and they come from every social background. Tonight, you will hear from the men who molest. And please, a warning. Child sexual abuse is impossible to examine honestly without explicit language and shocking facts. We urge parents to use discretion if there are children watching. Our film is called Men Who Molest, directed by Bobby Berleffi, produced by Rachel Lyon, and co-produced by Mary Lynn Earls.
I'm a selfish person. I'm a liar. I'm an adulterer. I'm an exposer. I'm a child molester. I'm all those things. And they've got to stop. And they've got to change.
Alan molested his 6-year-old daughter, Amy, for 5 years. When it started, she was just a baby.
She was just over a year. And I saw her, and I was aroused by her nakedness, by the touch of her skin. So I figured she's not going to know what's going to happen. So I just caressed her. And that felt good. And so I said, well, she's not going to know what's happening. So I continued to caress her body and started touching her vagina. And I'd touched her before in changing her. But now I was touching her because it gave me pleasure.
When we first had Amy, he was very happy. Just couldn't get enough of her, in terms of just being with her and holding her and being with me and going out together. And then after a while, it just kind of started tapering off.
Sometimes I'd do it when I knew my wife might catch me. I don't know why. It might have been just the excitement of the possibly being caught, because it made it more exciting. One of the reasons I molested the child is because it was wrong, and the wrongness made it exciting. Because it was wrong, because it was... you could get caught, you could be in trouble. I added excitement to it. And I wanted that pleasure.
Alan mentioned that he had thought of touching Amy. And, of course, that hit me like a ton of bricks. But I just thought that maybe this was just a passing thought and that he wasn't going to take up on it.
And finally, I promised her I was going to stop. Promised her I was going to stop. And I tried staying away from her a couple of weeks. A couple of weeks later, I brought her upstairs and I started undressing her, started molesting her. And she struggled. She was frightened now. She was always frightened, but now she was really terrorized. And I was about ready to start forcing her. I mean, pinning her down, spreading her legs, forcing her. And I stopped. And that's the only time that I molested her when I didn't have an orgasm. Because I was frightened that she was going to tell now, because she was scared.
Amy didn't tell, but the next-door neighbor, Cheryl McIntyre, overheard Amy saying something while playing with her best friend, Cheryl's daughter.
About a month ago, Amy said something. I don't really remember what it was, but it was like she said something and caught herself saying it and stopped. And when I tried to pursue it, she would say things like, if she told her daddy would go to jail, she would get more spankings than she's ever had. She would be in big trouble. And the more I tried to pursue it, she started to cry. And so I kind of tried to drop it there.
But Cheryl persisted, until finally, Amy told her the whole story.
Then I called the Child Protection Agency to report it to them.
Children's Protective Services, Joy Perkins speaking. May I help you?
Joy Perkins took the call. In Seattle, as in every major city, Children's Protective Services is the agency which investigates reports of sexual abuse. While a police detective questioned Alan, Joy Perkins had to decide whether Amy should be taken out of the home and placed in foster care.
The neighbor told me exactly what the little girl was saying about the humping, about what father was doing, about how it would hurt sometimes when daddy would touch her, how he would say after he touched her he was sorry, he would never do it again, but he did do it again and again. And so at that point, we knew we had to do something and do it quickly.
And the only thought that was in my mind was, what were they going to do with Amy? Were they going to take her away from me? What was going to happen to her? And how dare they do this to me? How could they take her away from me? Against my will, almost. And I guess that thought was more prevalent than the thought that she had actually been abused, because I didn't want to face the thought that she'd been actually abused.
We called in the alleged offender, who was the father of the child. When he came in, one of his first words was, "I'll do anything if the victim is allowed to stay with her mother." At that time, Detective Burkholder told him then if he left the home, the victim would be allowed to stay with mother. He agreed to this. We gave him about an hour or so to go home, get his clothes, get out of the place. Then mother went home with the child.
Alan's case is typical. Almost always, the offender knows his victim well. He is often a father or stepfather. Incest has long been considered a family problem, not a crime. Now authorities are facing the question of what to do with a growing number of offenders like Alan.
I might go to jail. The maximum sentence is 5 years. But I'm looking at a realistic possibility of going to jail for 90 days without work release, 90 days inside of jail where they don't particularly like child molesters. It's a very real possibility. And, of course, the maximum is real, too. I'm scared out of my mind. I'm scared.
It will be months before Alan sees a courtroom, let alone jail. When his case does come to trial, the judge will have to decide whether he is a criminal who must be punished for his crime, or whether he is mentally ill, a sexual addict who, like an alcoholic, must get treatment in order to control himself. It is not an easy decision. Judge Roselle Pekelis.
We are, of course, appalled most of us, even some offenders, are appalled at themselves and at other people who commit these crimes. Burglary, for example, which we would certainly not commit and not condone, does not make you feel sick to your stomach the way the average person feels about this crime. And one hears suggestions, if one were to call in spectators as a judge and ask for suggestions for punishment, I doubt that we would responsibly use any of the options that they would volunteer. So we have a crime that is very different from crimes of property and even other violent crimes against adults. We live in a culture, hopefully, that worships our children and wants to protect them and care for them. On the other hand, we, or perhaps because of this and because the victims are so often related to the offender, we feel that we'd like to deal with this in a humane way. We have absolutely conflicting views and reactions to this crime.
Long before his trial, Alan's lawyer urged him to enroll in a treatment program for sex offenders. His lawyer knows the judge will have two basic options: send him to jail or allow him to live in the community while getting treatment. The leading community treatment program in the country is in Seattle, Northwest Treatment Associates. It's only been in business for 7 years, but it has become the largest and toughest model of its kind.
Regarding your history of sexual deviance, have you now told Northwest the complete truth about that?
Yes.
Each week, 225 men come to Northwest for treatment. The aim of the techniques used here is simple: to change the offender's behavior.
Do you have any unreported contact with children since starting treatment?
No.
At the heart of treatment is behavior modification. Co-founder Roger Wolf.
We tend to focus on the behavior itself. We tend to see that behavior itself as the primary problem, certainly not precluding that there are other sorts of problems with the individual and the people around him. We also make the assumption that a large part of the problem is that the individual is attracted to, aroused by, and gets pleasure from deviant sexual behavior. That is to say, behavior which is abnormal or unusual, and in the case of almost all of the clients that we're dealing with, behavior which is illegal and imposes on another person.
Are you now being honest with your wife?
Yes.
After Alan submits to a polygraph test, the first step in treatment is to have him confront his own behavior.
It's frightening.
What's frightening is how much time you've spent being perverse. Your whole life has been ordered.
All of my adult life and most of my childhood
has been ordered to the service of your deviance. And you can't change any of that.
I cannot ruin the other half.
Yeah, you can't go back and unmolest your daughter or unthank the thoughts you've done. The damage that's been done is done. You can try to minimize the losses to yourself and to other people. You have a very, very serious problem. You're addicted to it just as surely as it were an opiate.
I know that.
Therapist Steve Wolf has asked Alan's wife, Gabriella, to sit in on one of his first therapy sessions. After 9 years of marriage, she will hear things today for the very first time.
You're using that person for your own gratification.
I first molested a child when I was 12 years old. It was a 2 or 4-year-old neighbor's girl. And shortly after we were married, I started fantasizing about her 9-year-old sister. Even as we made love, I was fantasizing about making love to her sister.
What's it like for you now that you discover all this about Al?
I don't think I could ever get used to hearing it without feeling some sort of pain.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I heard that. I don't want to hurt you like that anymore. I don't. I want to. I'm trying to think of people as people.
He has spent the last 3 or 4 sessions with me being very remorseful. What can I do? What can I do? What can I do to get better? And then he goes outside, and he's abusive of his wife on the front steps, physically pushing her out of the way, just being very much the tyrant. You go stand over here now. Not taking into consideration her feelings at all. And he's still asking, what can I do to make myself feel better? He's not asking, what can I do to make my family's life better?
Alan was sentenced to 30 nights in jail. During the day, he was allowed to go to work and to therapy. He'll live in the community on probation for 5 years, as long as he finishes treatment. He'll pay for his own therapy and his daughter Amy's.
I'll get you moved in.
Gabriella has been taking Amy to see a therapist once a week. Now she has to decide whether she should stay married and try to keep her family together. Therapist Lucy Berliner.
What I do think is important and necessary is that those of us in the treatment business and in the legal system take into account what is going to be in the best interest of the child, not what is in the best interest of the adults. For some children, it may be the right thing for the family to stay together. For other children, it may not be. And sometimes you're faced with the dilemma where the child does not want to continue to live in a family with the offender, but the rest of the family wants to do that. I don't find that any kind of therapeutic pressure to make the family change their mind works very well.
Lucy Berliner has worked for 11 years with victims and their mothers at Seattle's Sexual Assault Center.
The thing that you see over and over again in all the literature, everything written, is, first of all, that it's somehow your fault. If not totally your fault, at least partially your fault. That you knew about it when it was going on and didn't do anything to stop it, that your children or other children told you about it and you didn't do anything to protect them, or that something about your relationship with the man caused him to turn to children. So for starters, I was wondering if how many people here knew that their partners were molesting children while they were doing it.
My ex-husband sexually molested our 3.5-year-old son on visitations, and I would resent very much anybody saying that I knew that that was happening and hadn't acted on it.
I do, and it was funny.
The sobbing and the crying at night I attributed to the tearing emotions of a divorce. I had no idea that there was anything else going on.
Another thing is you have to be willing to believe that it could be anybody. There is no such thing as a person who couldn't be a child molester. There's no person that you could like so much or know so much about that you could know for sure that they weren't. So how do you know?
Just recently, I attended one of his therapy groups where he mentioned that he was having fantasies about me as a child while we were making love. That was news to me. Now I'm going to his therapy sessions just to see how he's coming along, because I feel I have to know that before I can make a decision on whether, he'll ever come back with me or what I'm going to do.
Well, it seems to me what I hear, there's either one of two reactions. One is, how can you possibly consider staying with that guy, get out, or you must stay with him and help him. He has a problem. Don't you care about him?
I got both. You get a third reaction. You get the reaction of how the hell could you have married a turkey like that in the first place?
It's no joking matter. It shakes your confidence in your ability to choose human beings.
That's right.
And what you need to realize, and what's taken me 6 months, a year, is to think, you didn't know that when you chose him.
I think for most of us, though, it's hindsight.
Did most of you believe it right away, or did you have trouble believing it from your daughters?
I believe it. My brother had intercourse with me when I was a child, and so I immediately believed Leah. There was no question at all. And it was my family that didn't believe it. They didn't believe that it could happen, that he could have done such a thing. But I believed it immediately. So, you got to look at the whole picture. I really didn't think that he would continue the pattern we had when we were kids. I figured that what had happened between David and I was because we were brother and sister and the incest thing. I just didn't think that David would molest Leah too.
Now what am I going to do about all these messes?
Leah was 4 when she was molested by her uncle. She is now 7.
Many parents would hope that a child who has an abuse experience at the age of 4, that basically that experience will fade and will no longer be an important or relevant one to the child. Leah is a living example of the fact that's not true. At 7 years old, she herself will say that it's on her mind a lot, that it influences how she thinks about things, that she has fears. So what we are doing as counselors is only a small piece of working towards making that child able to recover from that experience. Do you ever think about it?
Yeah.
What do you think about when you think about it?
I think that I don't like it, and I can't get it off my mind ever.
And when does it come in your mind?
Always, but when I play, I just forget about it.
Where on your body?
Lucy first saw Leah 3 years ago. Recently, when Leah began talking about the experience again, her mother brought her back to the sexual assault center.
Is that a girl or a boy? I suspect that a lot of the difficulties that children get into is because they continue to believe that they were responsible for being victimized. Our job as therapists with these children, even before they may have any problems that you can see, is to address those feelings, to communicate to these children as directly and specifically and strongly as we possibly can that they are in no way bad for what happened, in no way responsible, and that they are not changed or marked or damaged because of it. I bet I know something they would be good for.
What?
Moonwalking. Do they slide?
Yeah.
So that
Lucy has had great success in getting Leah to express her feelings to the dolls. Now her goal is to get Leah to express those feelings to the real people involved.
What are we going to talk about? Going to talk about what happened to you a few years ago?
Yeah.
Who was the person who did that to you?
Not my brother.
And what do you call that guy?
Fatso.
The Fatso. Do you remember what part of his body that he touched you with?
He put his pee-pee right there.
Right in the hole?
Yeah.
Did that hurt you?
I don't know.
Hard to remember that far away?
Yeah.
You know where Fatso is now?
In jail hospital.
Right, he's in the jail hospital.
I did something that caused myself to lose my freedom, my rights as a full citizen, because I took the rights of somebody else. I abused the rights of somebody else.
This is Leah's Uncle David, Fatso. Northwest decided he was too dangerous to be in the community. At the state mental hospital, he refused treatment. Now he's in prison.
I accept the fact that I did something wrong.
What if I pretend that this is Fatso? What would you want to say or do? Maybe there's something you'd like to do to him.
My mommy, here's me.
Okay.
Then I go, hi, Fatso.
That's what you'd like to do to him? That sounds like a pretty good idea.
Kick.
That's another thing you'd like to do.
Punch him in the stomach.
And punch him in the stomach.
And slap his face, slap. And then twist his arms back.
So you kind of have a mad feeling, huh?
And go.
This is an important trip for Leah. She's told Lucy in therapy that she's ready to see her uncle. A meeting would allow Leah to try to express her feelings directly. Her therapist and mother believe it will help her in the long run. It won't be easy. It's been 3 years.
I'll tell you what, I just hope that Leah can talk to him as candidly as she has so far, and that she can, because I think hearing it from Leah and hearing Leah say it to him is going to make him feel a lot more guilty than me.
You got to start from the point of view that this is an untreated sex offender, not a treated one. To me, it doesn't really matter so much what is said. It's more important that she get that feeling from it and that you get that feeling from it, so he doesn't, in a way that makes you guys survivors rather than still being victims.
Surviving the prison visit is a risk Berliner is willing to take.
There are things that Leah has going for her, which is she has a very supportive relationship with her mother. She's able to talk about her experiences. She has a pretty clear sense of who was responsible and who wasn't. I think if Leah did not have that clear of a sense, I would not recommend such a meeting because I think it could lead to further feelings of guilt or confusion.
You're smoking. Never seen you smoke before.
Never been in prison before. How are you? This is your friend?
I'm Lucy Berliner. I'm a counselor at the Sexual Assault Center.
Hello. Can I say something to you? I'm really sorry. I'm sorry.
Is there anything you want to say to him? One of the questions that Leah and I had talked about, that she had wondered about, was her own question to herself is, why did you do this to her? You were a grown-up, but she was a kid.
Well, if you can understand, one thing is that it wasn't because of you. It wasn't anything because of anything you did or said. I was very sick.
Honey, I know this is hard on you. But try to remember what you were going to ask. Because we're all here. It's okay.
Did you listen to what he said when he said it wasn't your fault?
Mm-hmm.
You believe that? Whose fault do you think it was?
I don't know.
It was his fault. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to leave?
You ready to go? You want to stay in here for a sec, Judy? I'll take Leah.
I'll see you in a little bit, okay, Leah?
Bye. Take care.
When you were doing that to her, how did she react? Didn't she try to make you stop?
Well, a couple times she said no, and then I stopped.
What did you tell her to keep her mouth shut? You know how long it took that little girl to tell me after you moved out? I mean, I thank God that she had the strength to tell me.
Well, I never threatened her.
What did you say to her? Do you realize that the doctor said that her hymen was torn? Which means you actually tried to. Did you? Then how did it get ripped? If it wasn't you, who was it?
I don't know. All I can say is I know what I...
You never tried to enter her, David? Did you use your fingers?
I was pretty far gone, but I wasn't that far gone. What I did was bad enough, but it wasn't bad.
I just needed to know exactly what happened. I mean, she sat and described it a few times. And every time I wanted to know exactly what happened so that if she had any questions, so that she needed to understand anything, I could try to make her understand. There's pain. There's anger. And I still will never understand how he could have molested his own niece. He's a convict in prison. He wants to help himself, but I'm wondering how much of it he's doing because he knows he can get through the prison system quicker if he's cooperative.
David is serving a maximum 10-year sentence. With time off for good behavior, he could return to the community without any treatment in less than 4 years. Most of us believe child molesters go to prison. Sometimes they do, but prison sentences for child molesting are surprisingly short. They average less than a year. But even if sentences were longer, many professionals believe the only choice for society is to put a much higher priority on treatment. Right now, aside from jail, it's the only option we've got.
The question really becomes making a judgment about whether you believe it is more likely to be effective to try to change these people than to simply lock them up. Now, I don't think the evidence is in about whether or not locking people up is more effective than treatment or vice versa. But locking people up is a limited solution. It is not an ultimate solution because we're not willing to lock people up forever. So the reason we make the judgment choice to try treatment is because we have to hope that treatment will have a more beneficial and long-term effect than simply the punishment of removing the person from society for a limited period of time.
The value of community treatment versus locking them up in a prison or institution, one is fiscal. The cost of providing intervention in the community is less. The structure of our legal system doesn't allow for all offenders to go to a locked situation or a confined situation. Therefore, they're going to be in the community and treatment needs to take place.
We're all criminals. Every single one of us. We violated the law.
Who are you talking about, we?
The members of this group.
And what
The group session is the basic therapeutic tool at Northwest Treatment.
criminal behavior?
What society expects in order is probably A, for a sexual offender, especially against children, is A, capital punishment, B, castration, or number 3, prison. Probably in that order of priorities. That's the message I get.
Do you think it's criminal? Do you think that your behavior is just like that of a burglar, a robber, a forger, or are you considering yourself more like a dope addict, an alcoholic?
I don't feel I should be looked upon as a criminal per se. As I don't rate myself with a murderer. You know, some people may say what I did is wrong. It's probably worse than murder, and it probably is. I'm saying that I'm a sexual addict.
I am a 41-year-old adult male. I did something that I knew was wrong, and I did it consciously, and I did it deliberately. And there's nothing about that makes me mentally ill.
All right, now, if in fact you're a criminal, what should happen to criminals?
Jail, prison.
Get the person off the street.
Why are you in the community?
Because it's more value to the community than it is in prison.
What?
It's more value to the community than it is putting us in prison.
There's more value to keeping a sex offender in the community than it is to lock them up? I need you to explain that to me.
Certain sex offenders, because if they're treatable in the community and can function without offending and can create controls, can work out therapy.
Whatever a molester's view of his value to the community, therapists at Northwest believe the threat of removing him from the community is actually more effective than doing it.
The difference between the people seen at Northwest and those seen in a lockup situation oftentimes boils down to the degree of dangerousness they present to the community. The essential element, I think, is a belief that the man receiving treatment will not commit another sexual offense while he is receiving treatment. If we feel that the consequences of somebody's behavior in the community, the potential consequences are so great, we would recommend institutional treatment.
Speaking of my father, in the summer, when we'd visit my uncle and his family and go on a picnic.
In group, many offenders reveal for the first time that they were victims. While it may be a partial cause for continuing abuse, victimization is not considered by therapists to be the main cause. Most offenders, though, do come from disturbed or broken families.
He raped my sister, 2 years older than I, and molested my sister, 3 years older than I. And and beat my mother on more than one occasion.
The cloak of the sex offender is the secrecy. And in the group process, that secrecy is broken down. They become public, probably for the first time.
My name is Verge. I'm a child abuser, child molester, child rapist.
Individuals in group can avoid dealing with issues by lying. And lying to one individual is much easier than lying to 10. Lying to somebody who has not engaged in the behavior is easier than lying to 10 people who all know what the behavior is. The greatest experts in sexual deviation are the offenders.
My name is Wayne. I'm guilty of finger raping my daughter vaginally.
Borrowing a technique from Alcoholics Anonymous, offenders begin each session with a layout, a recital of their crime. Wayne molested his daughter Dawn for 2.5 years.
Dawn was approximately 11 and a half years old the first time I offended her. What happened was my daughter was standing, bending over a table in a thin bath nightgown negligee type. I was sitting in a chair, and I was sitting there saying to myself, gee, it never hurt to look. No one's going to be hurt by it. My thoughts never hurt anybody, and all the rationalizations. And then I took it out of the thoughts and put it into actions. I rose from my chair and walked over, and I put my hand between her legs.
When he started doing this, I crawled into my own world. I really didn't play with anybody, or I didn't go and do things with anybody. Especially in 6th grade, I'd go and hibernate in my bedroom. I'd come from school, lock myself in my bedroom.
I had absolutely no idea that there was any molesting going on.
Sherry has been Dawn's stepmother since the time Dawn was an infant. But Sherry and Dawn were never close, and Dawn had no one to turn to. The molesting went on for over 2 years, becoming more intense and more frequent. Finally, one day after school, the 13-year-old Dawn did what very few children even contemplate. She walked home, picked up the phone, and dialed the sexual assault center.
When I called, I said, is this the child sexual abuse center? And they said, yes, it is. And so I thought I got the right place, and I told them what would surprise me, because the secretary was just so shocked, and I couldn't figure out why she was so shocked. She was so shocked because there was hardly any kids that called there, and I called her, and I told her, I didn't tell her my name at first. I told her what my father was doing, and she asked me my telephone number, my address, and then finally she asked me my name and how old I was.
She didn't even tell me. She called sexual abuse herself and handed me the phone, and I was told by, the counselor at Harborview Sexual Assault Center. She just wouldn't give me any credit. She wouldn't give me a chance and tell me what had happened.
How was my relationship with my mom? It wasn't too good. We never got along, and we never felt really close to each other, and I always keep things a secret from her. I never really talked to her at all, and it wasn't good at all.
All I can remember is just feeling like I had to run, just to get out of the house, to get away from him.
That afternoon, Sherry took Dawn and fled to her sister's. When Wayne came home that evening, he came home to an empty house. He knew he'd been caught.
In February, I went before the judge. I was sentenced to 60 days in jail, 5-year deferred sentence, mandatory to complete a therapy program, 2 to 3 year therapy program, no contact with minors without adult supervision approved by Northwest Treatment.
She resists. Tell myself a little resistance is part of the game.
Tim Smith is Wayne's therapist in individual sessions. Wayne's been in therapy for 9 months.
what these tapes do. They bring up all kinds of things from your past. It's a never-ending learning process. The difficulty with Wayne will be long-term adjustment. He is doing well in treatment right now, to the point that he is being responsible. He's following guidelines. He appears to be honest. His arousal system's coming under control.
The feeling back and forth.
When you get into more intense physical descriptions, your fantasy gets different. You quit floundering because you go back to what you're used to.
The offenders at Northwest pay for their own treatment. But before society invests more in programs like this, how effective are they?
As far as the quality of treatment or the efficacy of treatment, I think that there's a heck of a lot to be learned. This is a field that's pretty much in its infancy. The whole field of looking at human sexual behavior maybe dates back to Kinsey, which is only 30 years ago. And if you look at the things that we believed 10 years ago and the knowledge that we have now, there's just been incredible strides. And, hopefully there is going to continue to be the kind of basic research support to keep getting more refined and more effective in terms of treating this population.
One of the things we do is a partner alert list. And a partner alert list has to be given to anyone you relate to that has children.
We make excuses for offending, like they were a victim, like they lost their job, like their adult relationships are not satisfactory, rather than focusing on one of the primary components, and that is that it's pleasurable. And being pleasurable, it's repeated. And then when it's repeated often enough, it becomes habit. And when it becomes habit, the need for that increases. And then you have a compulsive sex offender.
I did use it quite a bit.
The latest technique in behavior modification used at Northwest has the molester reenact his crime with a mannequin while a therapist videotapes.
Tell her why it's okay. It's okay because you're young and you won't remember. I'm your uncle. I think you should trust me.
Afterwards, he'll see his behavior on the videotape.
Tell me, how does a 7-year-old feel anyway?
Small.
Why don't you just
Offenders are able to reconstitute their behavior if they continue to bombard themselves with a stimulus. Behavior modification serves a function. It allows the individual to interrupt thought processes long enough to rethink and restructure his thinking relative to his sexual offending.
I'm not going to screw her.
Why?
Because if I screw her, then I'm molesting her, and I don't feel like I'm molesting her if I don't screw her. Unless she's a virgin, and I don't.
The result of the procedure is it seems to just blow away their rationalization system. It becomes very difficult for them to justify or rationalize the behavior. They can see the hollowness of, what they're telling themselves, the falsity of it, by being able to objectively look at their behavior that way.
I feel like shit.
Watching it is even harder.
Behavioral treatment works. One of the objections to behavioral treatment is that it works too well. But it's short term. A behaviorist that tells you that it will work forever, I would question that.
Why a person develops a sexual interest in a child is one of the questions we don't really understand completely. And I think it's one of the most difficult areas in working with sexual offenders, because the idea of being sexually attracted to a 2 or a 3 or a 4-year-old is so foreign to most of us that we tend to do exactly what the offender does, which is to try to find some other explanation for it than that the person is turned on to children.
This is J.L. My therapist is Steve Wolf. This is Deviant Fantasy. I'm getting aroused to the thought of putting my hand on his leg.
Jim is a pedophile. He's attracted only to children. He's confessed to molesting more than 30 victims over the past 20 years.
I'm with Michael. He's 9 years old. All he's wearing is shorts. I'm roughhousing with him, touching his smooth skin. It feels soft. I can smell his little boy body.
Jim's an interesting case. He presents probably one of the most robust patterns of sexual deviance that we are working with in community treatment. He's making some progress, which is not to say that if he left treatment today, that within about 3 or 4 weeks or a month or 6 months or a year, he wouldn't be back to the level he came in. But right now, while he's in treatment, he's under better control than he was.
Jim followed a pattern common to pedophiles. After an early sexual experience, for Jim, when he was 12, there was a long dormant period until he reached his 20s. Then, while living communally in a house he built with friends, Jim began to molest their children.
In terms of my molesting kids, there were things that I could do that one would not do in a more traditional setting, or it wasn't questioned very much that I would shower with the kids. It wasn't questioned very much that I would sleep with the kids, or even that I would sleep with them without my clothes on. What I thought at the time when I was molesting kids, when I was molesting Jerry, for example, I imagined that he was aroused the same as I was, that he liked it, that he viewed it as something of a defiant act.
Jerry was 5 years old at the time.
I felt of myself that I had been repressed sexually, and I thought it was, I thought sex was a good thing, and the more of it, the better.
Years after the house disbanded, Jim was arrested for a minor sex offense. His friends were shocked. Some were furious. Others urged him to get into therapy. The court sent him to Northwest, where he confessed to many victims, boys and girls.
I think a little girl's body and a little boy's body are real similar. They feel the same. The skin is the same. They smell the same. The only thing that's different is their genitals, which is not very important to me.
Jim is considered a high-risk offender. He goes to Northwest twice a week, but meanwhile he is in the community, constantly confronting his sexual addiction.
When I'm aroused by kids, I do a variety of things. I wear a rubber band and I snap it. I carry an ammonia bottle with me and I take a sniff off of it. When I see a kid on the street, I get aroused at a distance. And sometimes, I don't know if it's just that I'm more aware of it now, but I feel like I'm more aroused now than when I started Northwest.
What do you expect them to do? What do you expect this to be magic?
No, I don't expect it to be magic, but I've been here for a year. Mm-hmm. I've done a lot of the one-to-one stuff, and it seems like my impulses are stronger now than when I came.
All right, now we have an issue with someone who says, my impulses are so strong that I can't control them. What should we do about that?
You know, maybe he needs to be locked up for a while. In a place like Western State. You know, that scared me.
How close are you to reoffending? Or do you even know?
No, I'm not. Well,
where are you in
that?
Right now? Right now.
A second.
There are things that we aren't doing yet that hopefully will be more successful than the things we are. I think we're trying to do the things that we know have some impact. We're using them and we're trying to have impact. I would hope that we'll continue to learn, that we'll develop new techniques and strategies and interventions that will work better than the ones we're using now. Is what's happened in group today an example of what you've done so far?
I guess.
I think you're right. Treatment may not work for you. You seem disinterested in putting out the effort. I listen to 2 hours a day were put into working on assignments. I hear effort on the parts of individuals. And from you I hear, I guess, I don't think, I can't, maybe. You have to put out more effort. It's your impulse. The power is generated by you. The responsibility for dealing with that power is yours.
Sure, yeah, I'm a threat to the community. I could reoffend.
Unless we are prepared to make laws to lock up offenders forever, therapists argue that treatment, while it will never cure a sex offender, will provide controls to keep the community safe. Until more time and effort is spent tracking offenders after treatment, we won't really know. Dawn has been living with relatives in Montana. She hasn't seen her father for 9 months. So she asked her therapist to arrange a meeting to let her tell him some of her feelings.
After that stuff sank in, it hurt me so bad that I didn't know how to communicate.
What stuff?
Why he molested me, and he would have never stopped. And there's the wedge he drew between me and my mother.
You've been telling us, and I believe it, that you're the one who drove the wedge that put them apart. And I think Don understands that somehow. At least I hope you do. What can you do to help?
Try and get over what I put inside myself for 37 years. I don't want it there. Seems so much sometimes. So hard.
My eventual goal for Dawn is I think she should be back here rather than in Montana. I think she should be back in Seattle, which is where her family is and her main support system is. And I feel better about the kind of counseling that's available here for her too. And that's why I'm going to meet with your mom next week, and I'm going to try and get her to start coming in and seeing me every week or so for a while.
I think I will be able to come back here too.
We'll see. It depends on a lot of things.
Later that week at the Sexual Assault Center.
So today Dawn is living in Montana.
Right.
With relatives.
Mm-hmm.
And you and Wayne are divorced?
Will be soon.
Do you see any possibility at all that Dawn might be able to come back and live with you someday?
No.
Mm-hmm. What will happen with Dawn?
I hope that Dawn's in the best place that she can be, and I really hope for the best for her.
Mm-hmm. Does she want to be there now?
I don't think so, but I don't think she knows where she wants to really be.
I want Dawn back in my life very much. Do I want her to live with me? No. I am a child molester.
What are you going to do?
I really don't know.
We have begun to understand the damage done to victims and to families by child molesters. But we have done little to understand the behavior of these men and who they are. They disgust us. But if we want to stop child sexual abuse, we will have to pay closer attention to them. For now, this place is acknowledged to be about the best we do. It is only a beginning.
No one knows the effectiveness of treatment programs like Northwest. There have been no long-term follow-up studies. Even though the Justice Department has called child sexual abuse perhaps the least understood and most poorly handled crime by our community's mental health and criminal justice system, there have been no national studies of the more than 200 different programs for adult offenders around the country. One final note. We want to acknowledge Leah and Dawn's courage. In talking about what happened, they are helping all of us to understand and deal with this crime. And they are helping shift the stigma about child sexual abuse to where it belongs, on the child molester.